Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of Movie Deputy Reviews, where we are talking about Halloween this week, since tomorrow, of course, is Halloween. And we are talking about today the fourth movie in the Conjuring series, which is The Conjuring Last Rites. Now, mind you, it's not chronologically completely in order with the other movies because the kind of how they intertwine with Annabelle and the Curse of La Llorona and just the other stories that kind of fall in line along with these stories. So I will say, if you're not familiar with the Annabelle stories, this one does reference the Annabelle movies a lot. So if you're not familiar with Annabelle, there may be some references in this one that you don't necessarily get right off the bat. Score, of course, guilty-wise, I'm in the guilty rating for sure on this one, 110%. Now you may be wondering where I'm at score-wise, and don't worry, we're going to get to that. We are going to get to that. It's just, we're going to have to wait a little bit. I want to kind of explain a little bit more about the movie and, of course, share the trailer with you and everything. And I promise I won't make you wait that long for the podcast a bit like yesterday. I almost goofed on that one. But as you can see by kind of the creepiness of like what's going on with Lorraine's face over here in the mirror, this mirror does actually play a big part in this movie. And this particular mirror is in the Warrens Paranormal Museum. So this actually is a real mirror in real life, the one that you're seeing. It's not the actual mirror that they're using in the movie, but they're representing something special about it in the movie, special not necessarily in a good way. Now, it's very interesting that this is the last case that the Warrens were really involved with directly. But what's even more interesting, and don't worry, this is not a spoiler, this is nothing even close to a spoiler, is this is the, right over here on the poster says the case that ended it all. It's interesting because this is also the case that started it all. This was the first demon that they ever encountered. And it also has to deal with their daughter Judy and how that's directly impacted with that. So the beginning might throw you off a little bit if you are into the Conjuring movies, everything. If this is one that you have not seen yet, or even if you have seen it, you'd notice that the Warrens look a little bit different. But it's because the actors in the beginning of the movie are not the ones that we're so familiar with seeing of Ed and Lorraine Warren, because it's portraying them at a much earlier age. But don't worry, we do get to see the actors that we have come to know and love representing Ed and Lorraine Warren in this story. Now, there are some kind of decently big plot holes when you connect this one with the other Annabelle movies and such, and I think it's important to address something in this. Is we see Annabelle, or a lot of you know who the Annabelle is, this like really creepy looking doll, and you've seen pictures of it online and just different memes and stuff that have been made about Annabelle, but what a lot of people probably don't realize is that actually isn't Annabelle. Annabelle is actually a real doll that is in the Warrens Museum. But Annabelle is not this creepy porcelain doll that a lot of people have come to recognize. Annabelle is actually Raggedy Ann. The actual Annabelle doll is a Raggedy Ann. And yes, I'm being completely serious. I'm not making that up. If you feel free to look it up yourself, that the actual Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll. So it kind of just changes the whole creep factor of the movie. It kind of ups it a little bit when you kind of think about that. But in this one, it's kind of an interesting thing. Or let's see. I think I want to share with you the trailer before we talk about a few more of the details of the movie. And like you know me, no spoilers ever, so you don't have to worry about that. But let's go ahead and jump into the trailer. Back that up. That was my bad.
The devil has come to Pennsylvania.
Jack and Janet Smurl claim that an evil presence has found its way into their home.
8 people.
Jack and Janet Smurl is the last case that the Warrens were directly involved with. It's a family of 8 that live under one roof.
In this house, 8 people have experienced this. 8 people are not crazy.
So, when did this start?
Heather's confirmation.
7th of September.
There's something in the attic.
evil here. Something I've felt before.
That reference that she's making to something that she felt before is they hadn't quite put two and two together yet, that this was their very first case ever, and how that ties into their story, and how that ties into their daughter Judy. And don't worry, no spoilers here at all, but that evil that she is talking about, that's why it seems so familiar.
This thing in your house is a demon. It's the first one that we ever encountered. We were young. We were scared. We ran away.
Now, I'm going to interrupt the trailer right here because I do want to warn anybody who's ever dealt with pregnancy loss, infant loss, something like that. There are parts of this movie that can be very triggering for that. And so if you're very sensitive to horror movies or even to that, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up. I won't spoil it telling you what that is, but there are some scenes here that are hard.
After all these years, it wasn't done with our family.
Saint Michael, defend us. Be our safeguard against the devil.
In nomine Patris, et Filii et Spiritus Sanctus, by the power of our Lord Jesus Christ.
I don't know how to protect you this time.
Even with all of their knowledge of the paranormal and the strange and unusual and the creepy and the downright demonic, that was not enough to protect them from this situation. And that by them, I'm meaning like all three of the Warrens that were involved in this. When we think of last rites, we think of something that is said over our deathbed or something that is said like right before somebody dies. And there are some really, really dark parts of this movie. This one really kind of pushes the envelope of the whole demonic sense of it a little bit. And I was able to transcribe some of the Latin stuff, and that is actually in my notes. So feel free to check that out down below in the notes on this one. And in this story, Lorraine teaches Judy from a young age. I'm just going back to my notes here on my phone. But there's this saying that Judy uses, and it's like an old rhyme thing that was common in the UK. But it was Lucy Locket lost her pocket. Kitty Fisher found it. Not a penny was there in it, only ribbon round it. And then she would say, for the rest of that, sorry, I'm going to lose some of my notes here. You're not here. Why? My phone auto-corrected here to diabolical. I'm not sure why. That's kind of a weird self-correction on my phone. There is a big kind of a plot hole in this one. In the very beginning of the movie, it mentions that it's April 20th, 1964, and it's referencing around the time of Judy's birth. But Judy's birth date was actually January 11th, 1946. Now, these stories are based on true stories, but this one maybe has the most holes of like any of the other stories that they've had. I do want to jump in and kind of show you here the podcast image. I'm going to take the poster away, and then I'm going to bring up the podcast image. As you can see, I pretty much just kind of shrunk it down a little bit there and squared it off. I didn't make a whole lot of changes to this one, but this is going to be the image that you're going to want to look for on the podcast. Make sure that you're on the right program. But yeah, this story, it has a bit more holes. It has a bit more information on it, or in it, both. Like I said, this mirror that they're talking about in this movie that Heather receives at her confirmation, because that's kind of when all of this begins, is at the confirmation of one of the Smurl daughters, and kind of how it all ties into that family, and how it kind of lures the Warrens back in, and why this ended up being their last major case that they ever took on. It really addresses a lot of the what's and the whys, but there's holes in regards to the dates and stuff like that. But if you do make it all the way through this, mind you, this one even gave me goosebumps at times. There were some decent jump scares in this one. Oh, there's decent jump scares in like all of them, but this one builds up. It's like when you think that you're going to know what to expect, because it's kind of building up, and it's got that creepy music playing, and kind of everything that's kind of just, it's kind of just building up to that crescendo, or however that you pronounce that. And so you're knowing, and you're just like, and that's always it's something I enjoy a lot of times with movies, is where it catches me off guard, whether that's in a spooky way or a happy way. I like the surprises. And this one, though, there's not as many surprises as you might think. There's a few things that happen that just they step the gore up a bit with this one. This one's probably the goriest of all of the Conjuring movies. Now, I will say they do touch base on a lot of the things that actually did happen with both the Warren family and the Smurl family in this one. And towards the end of the story, don't worry, no spoilers, we actually see a lot of the main characters from the other Conjuring movies at a gathering of people. I think it's because the Warrens knew that their lives had come to a point that they could celebrate the good things in life, and they wanted important people that were there with them. So there are definitely some familiar faces that you will recognize, and you're going to be like, I was like, oh my word, that person's there, and oh, they're from this person, and I'm not going to give it away who is who, but you'll have to watch it and find out for yourself. But the way this goes full circle, like I said, from dealing the first demon to being their final demon that they directly dealt with, and it goes on to share things of the Smurl family over, like, what happened after all of this, and then the Warren family, and how they kind of continued to do things even though it wasn't directly on up until their deaths. And I was even kind of surprised to learn that Judy actually has an Instagram account. And so if you're ever curious, and feel free, you want to look that up, she has that, and she's actually shared some information with her own family on there. So if you have been captivated by the Warrens and their stories, this is one that you're not going to want to miss. Now, you're probably wondering score-wise where I'm at. Like I did mention, this one has a bit more holes in it than some of the other ones do. And so I've really been debating, because it's like I stay true to the deputy scale above all else. The deputy scale, to me, above all else, is the end-all, beat-all, because I created it. It's nothing else of anybody else's, and it's a very unique rating scale. You'll never find a 10, but you'll never have a 0 either. But with The Conjuring Last Rites, I regretfully, I'm staying true to my scale, but personally, I'd maybe give it a little bit higher, but staying true to the deputy scale, I am giving The Conjuring Last Rites just a 5.75 out of 10 on the deputy scale. So it's a pretty significant fall from the other ones, but like I said, there's a bit more holes in this one than in some of the other stories, and though it's captivating and creepy and freaky and engaging in a lot of the ways that some of the other stories, this one's maybe a little bit more engaging than some of the other ones have brought us along that journey with, but at the same time, it's just not enough to give it a higher score. And for those not familiar with the deputy scale, is watchable, decent. A 5 is a watchable, decent story, significant flaws, and a 6 is watchable, good story, some flaws. So I'm I'm just tickling the bottom of a 6 with a 5.75 out of 10. And so I hope that this will help prepare you if this is one that you're looking forward to. And I am trying to have as much fun with these as possible. This is an adventure, good, bad, and otherwise. But I will be back tomorrow and Saturday with some more Halloween movies for you. And then don't forget, next week we are going back to our usual schedule of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So we will do these special events like this where we will have a show up for every day. But this will not be our usual. But we've got a lot of events coming up before the end of the year. We're going to have a trivia contest around Christmas. And then we are going to have some other giveaway things that are going to be going on. So definitely be sure to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that little bell. But you're not going to want to miss out on the rest of the content that we are going to have this year. And so I can't wait. This is going to be fun. And I just hope you come along for it. Bye-bye.